All right, y'all, quick question. Let's dive deeper into the question of why is your dusty self your most comfortable self? Okay, I want to get into why we are so comfortable being dusty, why we are comfortable playing small. All right, so that is going to be our lesson for the day. I see some of y'all are joining me. What's going down? Hello, Tines. I'm so happy to see you on here. Okay, so drop an OG in the chat if you are an OG. You know who I am. Drop the word new in the chat if this is your first time discovering me. Those of you who are new to my world, welcome, welcome, welcome. You have entered a healing space. You have entered a sacred space where we use the art of burlesque to heal our connection with our inner child, with our inner diva, with our higher selves, and where we also honor our ancestors. So go ahead and log off if you think ancestors are evil. I just want you to know Big Mama ain't evil after she is dead, okay? She is here to help us, okay? So my name is Pearl Noir, all right? And let me tell you who I am. I am a true burlesque queen, a true burlesque living legend, a true burlesque icon. And what sets me apart from other burlesque coaches and teachers is that I've actually been in the community. I've actually won awards, and I have been making history in the world of burlesque for 20 plus years. And part of the reason why I'm so iconic and I started making history is because I've always been able to help people heal themselves through burlesque because I chose to use this art form to heal. And today, what we're going to do is heal from the dustiness that we are addicted to, okay? Drop a 1 in the chat if you are prepared to stay and get this lesson today. All right, so let's start with the reasons that you decline dressing up for yourself, right? You decline dressing up for yourself, but you don't decline dressing up for that job interview. You don't decline dressing up for family outings, right? How many of you have even heard something like, I hear this all the time. It's like, okay, let me put on this beautiful dress. Let me put on my pumps. Let me put on my red lipstick. And if I had a hater around or someone who just didn't understand the power of glamour when it comes to your healing or just letting people be who in the hell they are, it's like, we're just going here. Why do you have to? Right? Have any of you ever experienced that? Drop a 2. If you were the person who was saying it, if you've ever said, well, why do you have to dress up? We're only doing, right? And so we want to ask ourselves why we decide that dressing up, breaking out the good china, that those experiences only happen for other people. All right? So let me tell you how this started, okay? So I have been hosting my burlesque program, Healing Through Seduction, online in New York City for over 20 years, right? And even when it's online, even when no one else can see people, I always encourage the participants, dress up. Let this time that we are together be the time that you honor yourself. So wear something that makes you feel sensual, sexy, powerful, playful, or wear some lingerie. And I get a lot of people that are excited about the opportunity to dress up, to be who they want to be. But then there are sometimes people who are like, well, I decided I just wanted to be comfortable. Which, hey, if being in sweats is truly what makes you feel comfortable, go for it. But I also ask the people who decline from combing their hair. You haven't brushed your teeth yet. You haven't washed your face yet. And you're showing up for this event that's for you. And you say, well, I just want it to be comfortable. And then I ask, well, why is your dustiest self? Why is the dustiest version of you your most comfortable self? Right? So I've got some notes. Okay. Now, again, for some of you, you're going to be like, no, I really do just like to be comfortable and I don't see it as dusty. So then this message is not for you, but this is for the people who know that actually the reason why I don't dress up, the reason why I don't allow myself to feel good about myself is because I'm playing small. So this is for you. Okay. Now, also, if you are feeling triggered or if you want to fight me, this is probably for you. So stay. Okay. Now let's break down how looking dusty how committing to looking dusty is also connected to a lack of respect for yourself and maybe your self-love journey, right? It stems down, in my opinion, it's kind of like there's an addiction to outside validation, right? For example, one of the lovely ladies in my community today, she just talked about how she booked this amazing gig, this amazing private gig, and she was so excited, but she couldn't allow herself to be excited because all of a sudden here comes that imposter syndrome saying, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe they won't like me, maybe they'll say that I'm not supposed to be here. And so then I encouraged her to remember that, well, what about the power of giving yourself consent to be happy? What about giving yourself consent to show up in a powerful way? What about giving yourself consent to say yes to this dream that has just come to fruition, right? So again, she allowed herself to go down this path where she was telling herself she wasn't worth herself. Why? Because she was so concerned with outside validation, right? And so then it makes me go back to the dustiness. Telling yourself that your most comfortable self is connected to your dusty self is all about a lack of respect for you being in your higher self. Yeah. Drop a 2 in the chat if y'all are still with me. If anything that I'm saying is, if you're like, yes, Pearl, I see a couple of hearts, but y'all let me know in the chat. Put a 2 there. Okay. I want to invite you to live a life where, yes, you go after that job. Yes, you want to make your family happy. Yes, you want to be a beacon of light for the world. But what I want you to remember is that none of that is truly going to be possible. You're not going to be able to sustain that unless you make a commitment to saying yes to yourself and make a point to where you don't say that your most comfortable self is the one who is hiding. Your most comfortable self is the one who's dusty. Your most comfortable self is the one who is only able and allowed to live out loud when someone else validates you. Okay, thank you so much for dropping that too. Okay, now where did this start? Where did our obsession with playing small, aka being dusty, start? I believe it started in childhood. Okay, so one of the things I wrote down was, in school, we can't even go to the bathroom without permission. Who remembers that? Just put me in the chat. Even at some jobs, it's kind of frowned upon if you leave your desk too many times. Like you cannot take a break unless someone gives you permission. You cannot even go to the bathroom unless someone gives you the permission to do so. So when we learn that we always need permission for everything, even going to the bathroom, I feel that lingers on, and that is kind of where the obsession starts, to where we really believe we cannot do anything without permission. I'll give you another example. When people work with me for the first time, I insist that they work with me online first. And I don't use Zoom. I use a beautiful platform. It's my own private app. And I'm the only person who's on camera. And even though I'm the only person who's on camera, and I tell everyone, this is your time to do your own thing, there are still people who still want my permission to do X, Y, and Z, even though I can't see them. Hold on one second. Thank you, Spirit. Hello, Goddess Mo, one of the people in the HTS community. She can vouch for this story. And so it's like, well, Pearl, I'll say, okay, lift your arm up and start caressing your throat chakra, if that feels good to you. And I'll say, if it doesn't, do something else. And a lot of times before they go for something that feels good to them, they'll say, well, is it okay if I do it this way? Now, keep in mind, they're in their homes. I've made it that you're in your home on purpose. I've intentionally created a platform where I'm the only person that's visible. But we're just so trained to get the validation from others. And validation, you all, also means permission in our minds. So not only are we asking for someone else to clap for us, for someone else to tell us we're doing a good job, we're also asking someone else to give us consent to honor ourselves. Let me know in the chat if anything that I'm saying is hitting home for you. Okay, so also someone even gave us a dress code, right? We had to have a dress code in school. You have a dress code at work. So no wonder we don't think it's appropriate to put on a ball gown to go down to Walmart or that bodega to get that daily sandwich or groceries. No wonder we say to ourselves, oh, well, I don't need to put this lingerie on. Even though the teacher, the woman, Pearl Noir, who I want to learn from, even though I want to embody what she is embodying, even though I want to honor her as a teacher, I will listen to just some of her suggestions. But I won't listen to something very basic, which is to dress up for myself when I'm at her class, even though no one else can see me. But if I were to get a booty call, but if my partner said they wanted to go to a fancy dinner, but if there was an opportunity to hop on a train or hop on a plane to go to a conference to speak, I would dress up for everyone else but myself. I say, I'm not going to honor that this lady is saying part of the ritual is to show up for yourself by what you are wearing. And for me, this goes into one of my burlesque and self-seduction principles, which is glamour is your birthright. So I grew up in the South. I grew up being told you're doing too much. I grew up being told, red lipstick and glamour, that's for white women, or that's for biracial Black women. That's not for you, right? I had the double D's at like 11, right? And so it was like, you cover up. Put on the baggy clothes. And the only time we dress up is for church or Christmas time or when you're doing something for someone else. And as soon as I became an adult, I said, I am going to use glamour as a way to heal. And then my ancestors sent me the art of burlesque, which is perfect. Okay. Let me know that y'all are still here. Because again, I can't see you. I see some hearts and some fires. So keep those coming just so I know that y'all are still with me. The other thing I want to acknowledge, when it comes to us prioritizing being dusty, okay, being dusty, is I also understand that thinking outside of the box can be dangerous without a proper support system. Okay, thank you, Goddess Mel. Right? So I want you to know that part of why you might be playing small, part of why you may not want to trust yourself to live out loud, even with your clothes, okay? It's because you may not have the support system that you need for that particular version of yourself. And this is not to say that the people in your life don't love you. This is not to say that you don't have people who are riding or dying, but there may be a version of you that needs support because you're just getting used to this version of yourself. And this version gives themselves consent to live out loud and to express themselves. And, there are so many things that we don't have control over, and so I want to encourage you to honor and start respecting the things you have control over more. So that's what's happening in your mind. That's what's happening in your heart. That's your connection to source. That's your connection to the goddess. That's your connection to the masculine, the feminine energy. That's your connection to your ancestors. That is your connection to your self-expression and your creativity. They will never be able to take that away. Okay? So I want you to start respecting it more. And a way I believe you can do it is to honor that glamour is your birthright, especially if you are a person of color, right? We think about all of the indigenous and African tribes. We think about the Asian culture and how important glamour was to our ancestors until someone said, strip that away, and I think it was intentional that was one of the first things that was stripped away, right? Because it was connected to culture, and I'm giving you all hearts right back. I'm glad I'm touching home for you, right? And so we need to heal and honor our ancestors and honor our power and honor our light by putting on that lingerie, aka lingerie, just because, not because of a booty call, not because we're trying to impress, not because we're there to perform for somebody else. I want you to tap into your glamour for yourself. It is your birthright. And I'm here to tell you, your glamour is part of your healing, right? When you have the confidence in yourself to put on a beautiful ensemble for you, when no one else is looking, when no one else is going to benefit, it then translates to how you show up in the world. And you're probably saying, but why is this important? Why is this going to help my family? How is this going to help my love for the world, Pearl? How is this going to help the world when it's on fire? Baby, if you don't have the courage to put on lingerie for yourself, if you don't have the courage to comb your hair before you go outside because you don't want anyone thinking you think you're all that, you are not going to be able to be the activist you want to be. You'll burn out. You will burn out. You'll stop showing up. You won't turn on the camera to tell your story. You'll feel too ashamed unless you hear the applause. But baby, you've got to learn how to have the applause within yourself. And so whatever you all want to do, please put me in the chat if this is for you. Whatever it is you want to do for the world, however it is you want to show up for your family, whatever legacy you are trying to create, you need to think about that true generational wealth. And true generational wealth starts here. Until you shift what's happening in your mind and in your heart, until you shift your connection to your power and your light, you are no good for the world. You won't be able to do a damn thing. And even if you started making more money so that you can be the activist that you want to be, so you can start donating to the causes that you want, honey, until you turn that light all the way on, you will doubt all the abundance coming into you. All the abundance that's showing up, you will doubt it. So I'm here to tell you, tapping into you, tapping into your light, allowing yourself to trust that glamour is your birthright has everything to do with you being the light worker, the activist, the artist, the CEO, the entrepreneur, the mother that you want to be for yourself, your family, your loved ones, and the world. All right, can I get a pow in the chat? Because I know I'm talking to somebody up in here. Y'all better tell the truth and shame the devil. Okay? Tell me in the chat. Let me see what the tea is. Goddess Mo, I love all the energy. Thank you, honey. Okay? Another thing that might be, in your subconscious and in your body is the, don't forget to humble yourself. Don't forget where you came from. How many of you have heard that? Anytime you dared to share good news, be it online, be it with family, be it with a loved one, or in your own mind, that inner hater, that inner saboteur, you started celebrating a manifestation that you discovered you were living in. Your ancestors made a way for you. The universe made a way for you. God, whatever it is you think of, made a way, and you started feeling happy, and you went to go talk about it, and someone said, well, don't forget to remain humble. Someone said, well, don't forget where you came from, instead of saying congratulations. And so when you learn that anytime you honor your light, when you have a moment where anytime you celebrated yourself for yourself, and you had someone really saying to you, hey now, you're doing too much. You can't celebrate yourself unless I say so. You can't celebrate yourself unless this person says so, unless this institution says so, unless you have a piece of paper. Okay, listen. All of these things go back to you feeling like your dusty version, the dustiest version of you is your most comfortable. And again, we're going beyond what you wear. I'm talking about being so comfortable playing small in every facet of your life, okay? Listen, we're going to break out of this glass coffin, okay? We're going to be a beautiful imperfection. How about that? How does that sound to you? Right? So I want to invite you to be bold for you, right? One of the things I focus on is not outside validation, but the inside validation, right? Making that inner child proud, being the adult that the inner child needed, making the inner diva happy, honoring both the masculine and the feminine energy. They are both sacred and divine in you, right? And so I want to invite you to start putting yourself in a position to have discernment. Once someone shows you that they cannot celebrate you, or they can't celebrate certain parts of you, there's no need to be angry at them. You honor yourself and give yourself consent to have a little more discernment. So you want to seek out new connections. You want to seek out new communities. Or maybe you just create an altar in your house where it's just for you. I have an altar in my place where my inner child lives. I have a dark-skinned baby doll there that my friend and burlesque daughter, Poison Ivory, gave me. I have flowers there. I have my passport there. I have the little brown girl from the hood. I've got one passport. Every page has a stamp from when I was traveling as a burlesque queen, as the Black burlesque queen of the world, okay? Just to remind myself. And so if I don't have anyone that I think is going to be able to hold space for my joy, I go speak at that altar. I go speak to that baby doll. So we don't have to be angry with people for not being able to show up in a way that they haven't been taught, right? But you want to put yourself in a position to where you are grounded in gratitude instead of humbling yourself. And I want y'all to look up the word humble. It's not a good definition. I don't know where this began, where you get an opportunity of a lifetime and you don't say, I'm so grateful. You say, I'm humbled by this. It's like, humble is not a good definition. Please look it up. And so when you humble yourself with how you dress, you humble yourself, you sign up to work with Pearl Noir, and you say, I'm going to work on my sensuality. And I say, okay, come through with your best outfit on. And you say, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be comfortable. No. And you think that doesn't affect other areas of your life, but it does. Yes, Ashley, thank you for that truth. Please, y'all. So to be humble means it means something like, according to the Webster's definition, to have low importance. Low importance. And then it goes back to I don't want to think I'm better than anyone. No one said that. How come believing in the gifts that you have, how come saying, my goodness, let me stop and celebrate myself, how come that translates to you thinking you're better than other people? Maybe you just think you are a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday, and that needs to be celebrated. Because let me tell you something. I don't know about your spiritual team and your ancestors, but I know mine are like, if you don't acknowledge what we have done, we might start feeling away. Just like you as a human being. Have you ever sat there and been there for a friend, been there for a family member, been there for a lover, and they just sat up there? This is the one that makes me want to shake folks. They come to you when they are not getting fed somewhere else and go on and on about how nobody is showing up for them while you're in the midst of showing up for them. Doesn't that make you feel a way? Wouldn't you prefer them to be grateful that you are there for them right now instead of talking to you about how no one is there? Let me know in the chat. Put a 5 in the chat if you are feeling me. So this is the result of humbling yourself, of not feeling like you are important unless someone else gives you validation. This is why I'm asking you to think about the fact that it might not just be, oh, I want to put on sweats today. Like, okay, maybe one day, 2 days, but every time your comfort zone is you not looking your best, or when there's an opportunity to put on something like lingerie or to be a full-on diva, when you come to class with me and you say, nah, but you know for a fact last week when homie hit you up and said, I'm rolling up, you said, let me get this bath going. Let me get this perfume on. Let me get the lingerie popping. No problem. But when someone says, hey, be kind to yourself, you don't know how to respond to that unless there's an audience to uplift you and say you're doing a good job, right? So I just want us to get to the point where we're no longer ashamed when we find ourselves living in a manifestation. I want us to get to a point to where we feel good dressing up for self. We feel good breaking out the china for self. So I want to see if y'all have any questions. If you want me to dive deeper on anything I've said, feel free to put it in the chat. And I want to acknowledge all of the ashays up in here. Okay, thank y'all for interacting with me because I can't see you. Okay, so being humble is negative. That's out. We're going to be grounded in gratitude the next time something beautiful happens for us. And I'll tell you this trick. When you are grounded in gratitude, you can soothe the imposter. You can soothe the imposter syndrome, and then you'll get to a point to where you learn how to seduce the imposter. You learn how to dance with the fear. You learn how to tell the imposter, I'm very grateful. I know you're just trying to keep me safe because we've never been this version of ourselves, but we have everything we need. And then you get excited about feeling like an imposter because the imposter syndrome is confirmation that you're evolving. The imposter syndrome is confirmation that you're not necessarily getting out of your comfort zone, but you're learning how to be comfortable with the new version of yourself. Okay, I see some light bulbs. Okay, I see someone said they're going on this solo trip. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the people that say things, and you might be people. And if you are people, I want you to be delivered. Okay. You can choose to be triggered by my words today or liberated. Okay. And I want you to know that it's up to you. Okay. Honor both. Honor whatever your truth is. But if you're a person who says things like, oh, she thinks she all that, or you have people around you that say things like that, understand that part of why you play small is to keep the connection that is familiar to you. You may share certain things. You may let them see certain parts of your big, bold, powerful energy, but subconsciously trust and believe there's a part of you that will never let your light shine as bright as it is intended to, because you know that they will then become your frenemy. You know that they'll be saying that about you behind your back, and you want to be comfortable. And so it's not necessarily, again, about getting out of your comfort zone. It's not about you getting out of your comfort zone per se, but about learning how to be comfortable in this version of yourself and giving yourself grace, because you've never been this person before. You've never been this version of yourself. Okay. So I wrote down some ways to just give you an example. And if any of this is sounding like you, just put me in the chat or just talk to me so I know. But here are some ways that I was dusty for ex-boyfriends. Okay. I never felt dusty with any girlfriends, team bisexual here, but the men that I have been with, really their kink became, how can I dim this person's light? And I grew up in the South, and it was, no matter what's happening, you don't call the police. You don't tell anybody, you just deal with it. So I found myself in these real abusive relationships and didn't know that I could get out of them. So I won't talk about that, but I will talk about the ways that I was playing small and being dusty for exes just to bring them comfort. Okay, so there was the gremlin. He was very insecure about how people reacted to me. And I will say, even people that I don't have a romantic connection with, they'll be enchanted by my light and how people respond to me. But then if they are not, and I tell people when they meet me, if you want to be my friend, you want to be in my life, you have to constantly focus on your healing journey, because my power, one of my powers is I'm a mirror and I'm a truth serum. So you won't be able to help yourself no matter how hard you try. You will reveal your truth to me, or I will have premonitions about you. I've had premonitions since I was young, okay? Someone said, whoa, I felt that, yes. And the other thing is, I will show you your best, like the best version of you, and you'll also see the worst version of yourself. Like my dance therapist gave me the most powerful thing. She said, when you're born to heal, you're born to trigger. So you will see the best or the worst in yourself, and then you'll put it out onto me because I'm triggering that part of you. And so he got very insecure with how beautiful people found me. Not beautiful in the sense of, you know, when we think of a traditional beautiful girl, no, just my light is just so fucking bright and powerful. And that is what drew people. And so he'd be so mad, you know, they're like, that's your girlfriend? He would get so mad. And then I would have to deal with it. So when we would go out, I wouldn't put on makeup. And I love makeup. I would put on the baggy clothes. So when I'm calling y'all out, just know I will never call you out on something that I haven't healed from myself. So I was always honoring the most dustiest version of myself for his comfort. Okay. Then there was the prince, like a real true life prince, but was so intimidated by, you know, we go and we be walking around and people would start bowing to me, people who were very spiritually aligned, and they can see that I come from a line of priestesses, that I am a true royal walking around here in the flesh, okay? And he would say things like, you're always trying to draw attention to yourself. Meanwhile, when we would go places, he would rent out people to film us and take photos everywhere, pretending to be a star. And so it was disrupting him that even though he was a true royal in his country, here I am from the hood, and I'm just walking, and people are flocking to me and ignoring his camera crew because they see I'm the real star. And so one of the things he told me on our last trip that we were together before my ancestors intervened to save me, he was like, you know, you can't really dress up. That's going to be disrespectful. So you need to wear jeans. Now, I am not a jean girl. Okay, this ensemble that I have on, this is my work uniform. I work from home, and I either wear gowns or lingerie every day. That's my uniform. And y'all, can you even picture this? I went out and bought my first pair of jeans to make him comfortable. And look at this, y'all. I get to Asia in my jeans, and guess what he's wearing? A 3-piece suit. A 3-piece suit. But I needed to wear jeans, and even in my jeans, my power couldn't be contained, right? So these are the kind of subtle things that happen when you humble yourself. And don't think about being humble. Think about being grateful. Think about being kind. Think about being generous with discernment, right? Yes, a true hater, but of course, because I was taught what I was taught, I didn't see it. And I bet some of you have experienced this too. Okay? So I dishonored my standards even with my burlesque family, right? So I have always been me, and I've always had my standards when it comes to work, very disciplined. And I even found with my burlesque family, with my daughters, working with them, that because I wanted them to feel loved, I did things like dishonor my standards. So it's like, oh, I'm having issues with family. I'm having issues mentally. I'm having issues this way and that way. And so it's like, oh, okay, you're 2-3 hours late. Oh, okay, I'll still hire you again. Oh, okay, you're feeling away because I think we should dress up every time we go somewhere. And say, oh, okay, we can start being casual. So I want you to know that it just kind of trickles in different places. And every time you evolve, you have to create a new set of boundaries for yourself first. That way you can honor your standards, right? But I just want to show you that we all can have a moment of dustiness, myself included, okay? So here's what I want you to start doing. Instead of thinking of being humbled by the opportunities that are coming your way, once you realize you are in a manifestation, I want you to start being grateful. I want you to start being happy. I want you to start thinking about dressing for the part, dressing for the jobs you want, dressing for the lover that you want, dressing and showing up as the version of you that you want to be, regardless of who's around. Okay? You know, I want you to get into it. And thank you all who are actually speaking to me in the chat. Thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability as well. Okay? I want you to start trusting the opportunities that are presented to you. I want you to start trusting the version of yourself that you want to be, and understand you don't have to wait to be that person once you have a certain amount in the bank. You don't have to wait until you're in the perfect relationship. You don't have to wait until you are married. You don't have to wait until you have children. You don't have to wait until your dress size is a certain size. You don't have to wait until there's a certain number on the scale. You can start embodying that version of you right now. So I want you to do this next. I want you to put yourself in an environment where you will be nurtured. So feel free to go to the link in my bio and sign up for my next masterclass. It's going to be on Wednesday. This is a preview to my beautiful one-day experience called The Tease that's happening pretty soon. And I also want you to start embodying these beautiful burlesque principles that I teach and that I live by. Okay, I am so glad these words were right on time. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to start getting into my principles. Principle number 1, okay, to live a burlesque lifestyle. Burlesque is all about telling yourself a new story. Burlesque is about being open to glamour, whatever that means to you. Burlesque is about being open to being sexy. And let me tell you this secret. Sexiness is the embodiment of you living your truth. Sexiness does not have a mascot, right? It doesn't have a logo. So embody yourself if you truly want to be sexy, if you truly want to call in this beautiful, powerful energy. All right. Principle number 1, honor your boundaries. We want to get to a point to where we understand that honoring our boundaries has nothing to do with shifting the behavior of those around us, right? The first time I thought about honoring my boundaries, I thought it meant I needed to be very hard, very stern. This is what I will and what I will not do, and this is what you will do with me, or else you get out. It's not about that, y'all. You know, that's honoring your boundaries from trauma first, and not compassion for self or others, which I have been guilty of, and people who have been with me have been guilty of too. We've all been guilty of it, as we should, because we're all learning as we go. Okay, but honoring your boundaries, what I ask people to do who are working with me is, when you start your day, if you can, do something beautiful, like give yourself an hour or 60 seconds, 5 minutes, to where you start your day with the second principle, which is self-consent. So truly touching your body and asking your body, do I have consent? So before I got on this call, I usually start by asking my third eye, my imagination, my crown, my throat, like, I give myself consent to show up as my full self on this Instagram live. Ancestors, help me to say the right things that are going to touch people, and also help me not to have any shame or fear about showing up as myself. right? So you want to give yourself consent. You want to honor your boundaries. You want to start putting yourself in a position to where you practice saying yes and no to yourself. And once you do that more consistently for this version of yourself, it'll be easier to honor your boundaries and give yourself consent with other people. The next principle, find your inner sanctuary. Okay, what do I mean by that? When we think of a sanctuary, we think of a place where people are, a place where we can go lay our burdens down, a place where we can jump for joy, a place that is sacred and safe for us to cry, tears of joy, tears of laughter, tears of pain. And I say that is beautiful and have that, but why not also make sure that your body is your own sanctuary? Have you ever been happy and you started crying and the people around you don't know what to do with emotion and they said, don't cry? Or you did it to someone. Someone was happy or someone was sad and they allowed themselves to see a sanctuary in you. Or you were by yourself and you allowed yourself to have a sanctuary within yourself, but then you stopped yourself. But you don't stop an orgasm. You don't stop yourself from being mad and angry. When you see something on this app that you don't like, you allow that anger to fester and you might even share it. But when you see something beautiful, when you see something majestic, when that beautiful or majestic being and energy is you, you don't share that. Not even with yourself. You stop yourself. In my workshops, a lot of people, they say, I just can't face myself. Or they say, I don't want to feel too deeply because I might start crying and then I can't stop. And to that I say, this is why you have to have a sanctuary in yourself. You have to trust your sacredness. You have to trust the medicine that we are not using enough. And that's the tears. The tears that represents the orgasmic experience. The tears that represents cleansing when we are sad. The tears that represents uncontrollable joy and an orgasmic experience outside of someone else. Okay, let me know where y'all are at here in this chat. Just drop a pow if I'm breaking it down to you. Let me get some water here while y'all putting pow in the chat. Thank you for the hearts. I see those as well. Do you want to have a sanctuary in yourself? The other principle that I teach, activate your chakras. So burlesque is all about your creativity to the next level because burlesque is theater. It's one of the oldest forms of theater. And let me tell y'all something really quick. Y'all love burlesque. You love burlesque and you love to see it everywhere you go. You love it when stars like Katy Perry and Beyonce do it. You love it when you watch things like SNL, or old school things like In Living Color, I Love Lucy. These shows honor the burlesque and vaudeville format. So it's honoring the power of theater. It's honoring the power of storytelling. It's honoring the different ways one can be seduced. Okay. Seduction isn't an evil thing. Seduction is really about putting yourself or others in a position to have that sanctuary. When we fall in love, we always say, I just feel like I can be myself with them. Right. And so seduction is about putting yourself in a position to where you can completely be open and vulnerable. So we love burlesque shows because they make us escape. They make us trust a new story. And what I'm saying is you can have that for yourself every day. And burlesque is also about putting yourself in a position to have full autonomy. And when I talk about not having autonomy, I want you to know that although I use burlesque for moments that were traumatic, that I didn't have autonomy, I also use it for everyday moments. We all were surviving a lockdown for the whole world, and we still had to punch in every day. I think if we had our way, we would have been able to use that lockdown to rest, to be afraid, to be with family, to focus on love, to focus on our passions. But we still had to clock in to work. So that was a moment we did not have autonomy. There's always going to be a moment where you feel that you do not have autonomy, and you want to make sure you always give yourself autonomy. Okay? The other burlesque principle that I teach and live by is dance your way to self-love. Okay? We want to put ourselves in a position to where we are moving our body, we are moving energy. I highly recommend dancing after watching the news. I highly recommend moving your body after doom scrolling. Right? Now, if you're me, you have trained the algorithm to only show you the good news. I don't even see bad news. Okay? I've trained the energy to protect myself so that I can do my job. I watch the news like once a month because I cannot see it every day if I'm going to be able to show up for you all the way I've been called to do. Okay? So you want to start dancing your way to self-love. You want to put yourself in a position to where the way you move your body doesn't make you feel awkward if it doesn't look like their body or their body. You want to put yourself in a position to where you love the wrinkles and the lines and the sagginess, because it's like this is proof that I have survived, honey. Okay, I see a yes in the comments. Yes, okay. You want to put yourself in a position, especially if you are a person of color. You know, our ancestors and the ones who are still living where they need to live in the tribes, and the ones who are still connected to the indigenous and African ceremonies, they dance for every occasion. That's intentional, right? And now we live in a society where we are very stagnant. We sit at a desk and that is it. And honey, that is why you're disconnected. That's why you feel numb. That's why you're tired. That's why you're burnt out, because you're not moving energy enough. You're not crying enough. You're not laughing on purpose. So I want you to get into it, okay? Now, I've already told you about practicing the art of burlesque. So every day, allow yourself to have a moment where you tell a new story, where you trust the stories that are being fed to you that are positive, right? You want to put yourself in a position to where you have a sensual blueprint. What is your blueprint for yourself? And think of the blueprint as like your favorite restaurants, right? So your blueprint can be, here are some rituals that I know work for me, right? So anytime I'm starting to feel scared or anxious, I know one of my rituals, one of the way I seduce myself is to speak out loud to the fear. I will also go into this Google Doc that I have that's ongoing, where anytime something beautiful happens to me, I document my wins. And so when the imposter syndrome comes up, when the fear comes up, I seduce my fear with the truth. I also place my hand wherever I think my inner child is living and remind her that I got her, that I am an adult she can depend on. Okay? So the same way we have those go-to restaurants, you want to have your go-to rituals, and this is going to be your sensual blueprint, okay? All right, I see some tears. I see some tear emojis. Okay, let me know what's going on in the chat. Let me know what you're feeling. Okay, the other principle that I want you to focus on is redefining intimacy. Making sure that intimacy is a bit more creative than a tap with yourself or someone else. So the intimacy could be speaking to yourself in a certain way. So one of the things I do throughout the day is I do the 3-6-9 method. 3 times in the morning, I write out a beautiful affirmation to myself, or I say the affirmation out loud. 6 times in the afternoon, same affirmation. 9 times before I go to sleep, right? And if I cannot get to a pen, I'll just say it in my mind, or I'll speak to my body, because I believe if the body can hold trauma, it has to be able to hold joy. So I am intimate with myself outside of a pow moment by how I speak to myself. And that's really important to me because I grew up being told I wasn't anything. I grew up being called the B word from a parent. I grew up being told I wasn't worthy from teachers and the kids. Like, it wasn't just kids at school who were bullying me. It was the teachers were joining in because they wanted to be the cool teachers. It was people at church. It was family members. I could not escape the negative talking. And so one of the ways I make sure I am kind to myself is I focus on how I speak to myself. All right. So that is what I have for you all. Invite yourself to stop being dusty. Those of you who are just joined, I'm going to share the replay if you want to take a look at it. Listen, y'all, on 3/22/25, we've got the Tease coming. The Tease is my online burlesque retreat. It is a beautiful day dedicated to reconnecting to source, reconnecting to our ancestors, reconnecting and reclaiming our body for ourselves, redefining intimacy, thinking about how we can tell new stories so that we can actually be the people we want to be for ourselves and the world without burning out. Okay. Yes. Got to seduce our minds, honey. Yes. So I want you all to think about coming to the Tease, but before you sign up, please come to a free preview. Tomorrow night, you can join me. I'm going to show you how to use the art of burlesque to heal your connection with your body, your inner child, your diva, and your higher self, and how to use it to really honor your ancestors, right? A lot of times when we think about honoring ancestors, we only think about the downtrodden ones. What about those creative ones? What about the ones that are we've got their blood, and that's why we are creative. That's why we are powerful. That's why we want to do X, Y, and Z with the world. It's because it's in us through them. So come on, let's get this going. So all you need to do is go to the link in my bio and sign up for my burlesque ritual and masterclass. Or if you're like, I'm already ready to sign up for the Tease Pearl, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Feel free to do that as well. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the DMs. Thank y'all so much. I hope this was helpful. If it was, share the love. If you're tired of the world being so-called on fire, being a terrible place, make sure you're not a person who is only spreading hate and darkness. Spread light as well. Be grounded in gratitude, okay? That's all for today, y'all. I'm going to clock out of here. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm going to share the replay. Please share it with someone if you felt like you got what you needed today. All right, y'all. Until next time, I hope to see y'all tomorrow at the masterclass. All right, bye.